Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by the movie Hangout. Just finished watching Stranger Things Season 3, Episode 5. So let's talk about it right now. I found a fantastic article on Vulture. Vulture's doing a pretty good job of breaking down these episodes because there's a ton of stuff that's happening in Season 3, which is what I love a lot about this season compared to the previous ones. Season 1 was good. Season 2 kind of got off kilter a little bit. So this is Episode 5. The title is The Flayed. And so the Flayed is referring to the Mind Flayer and the people that are actually have been abducted by the Mind Flayer and taken over. I mean, basically, I think the idea is been inspired from Invasion of the Body Snatchers a little bit. And you'll see a lot of that in this season. The creators of the series really take a lot of things from old school horror, science fiction. If you watch Joe Bob Briggs and a lot of the stuff that he does during his marathons, like all the horror movies and stuff, you're going to see a lot of little things like that. So let's just get through it. Stranger Things recap, Underneath the Bunker. And what's really cool about this is they really dive into this Russian conspiracy, because everything's about Russians now. So even Stranger Things is about Russians. It's been said before, including in a previous season 3 recap, that the Duffer Brothers, I always get those guys wrong, Duffer Brothers know how to make shows for binge watchers who can't wait to find out what happens next. Very true. Nothing captures that better than the transition between the previous episode and this one, if the word transition even applies. The 4th chapter of Stranger Things Season 3 ends with Dustin, Robin, Steve, and Erica making a screaming descent into the Starcourt's mall basement via a fast-moving elevator. Chapter 5, The Flayed, picks up exactly where Chapter 4 leaves off, with the mall sleuths screaming on the way down to parts unknown. That's a really good thing about this season. They start off in the middle of action. So they end in action and they start in action. So it really keeps you going. A lot different than regular television. Regular television, you got to wait a week or 2 weeks for the next episode. It's literally shot for the binge watcher. So that's what makes it really, really cool. They make a soft landing, but there's not a lot of feel good about when they do figure out where they are. After a long, thirsty morning, stuck in the elevator, broken up by Steve accidentally peeing in the cabin, they make 2 terrifying discoveries. Number 1, the vials of green liquid are filled with some pretty toxic stuff. And when you look at those green vials, tell me this, do they not look exactly like the green vials in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze? Look at those. Be honest and tell me if that was not directly inspired. They look exactly like it, which I love. And number 2, there's a vast underground bunker filled with Russian soldiers and scientists working beneath an unwitting Hawkins. This is not good news. Even worse, they discover that the Russians are up to reopening the portal to the Upside Down. That's what Russians do. So what's going on here? Apparently the Russians have come all the way to Indiana because of its upside down friendly environment. Bribe the odious Mayor Klein, use Starcourt Mall for cover, and in the process of opening the portal and extracting some kind of toxic substance from the unknown, but presumably not peaceful purpose. Do they know what they're doing, or will they soon realize they're meddling with powers beyond their comprehension? So I love about this, they go back to the retro mall. They got the Russians as the supervillains. They have the corrupt mayor is behind a lot of this stuff. You know, if you look at a lot of old school horror films, it's the corrupt mayor is somehow collaborating with aliens or something like that. So I liked how that kind of reached back to that. We're only just past the halfway point, so it seems likely more details will emerge. Stay tuned. While Steve and the gang find a secret hiding place beneath the placid surface of Starcourt, Hopper and Joyce's investigations take them all the way to another state. But first, they have to battle the Russian super soldier. So this is really cool. So basically what they do is they go to this abandoned house. They find an underground lab. They're able to get one of the scientists, the Russian scientists, and try to extract him. But the Arnold Schwarzenegger, Terminator lookalike Russian thug shows up and he just starts shooting up the place with an AK-47. And then there's a scene in this, and maybe I'll post a picture of it. There's a scene in this. You know what? The thumbnail. I made the thumbnail of this the picture because it's exactly like Terminator. This dude walks out while they drive away, the Russian agent, and he's got like his AK-47 up, and it's just like Arnold in Terminator. It's awesome. It goes on. Mike and Elle have some relationship issues to sort through, as do Nancy and Jonathan. The latter couple smooths things over pretty quickly, but the former couple needs a little space to process their first substantial fight after Elle signals she's open to a little conversation by using her powers to score a bunch of candy. They start to sort it out with some M&Ms, a well-placed compliment and smile, and not a moment too soon either, since all hell breaks loose elsewhere in the hospital. I mean, this is like really creepy. So basically, the people that are possessed by the mind flayer show up to the hospital, and they try to intercept all the kids. And a big fight breaks out. A couple of the people that are possessed by the mind flayer get killed. Their body then like just starts to like break apart into some like disgusting flesh blob, and then it like comes together almost like in Terminator 2. And that's the thing, like I said, a lot of these ideas are from movies that were really popular if you grew up in the 80s and 90s. So it's almost rather than liquid metal, it's like flesh. So the flesh comes together from these different bodies, turns into a monster, chases Nancy around, and it's disgusting, but it's really, really well done. Nancy and Jonathan encounter the flared controlled Tom and Bruce. Those are two of the guys who menaced them before dissolving into goop, and they merge into an operational mind flare. We're at the point in the season where the plot has kicked into high gear, but it's still nice to see Stranger Things finding space for some memorable character moments. The tension between Nancy and Jonathan plays a bit contrived, perhaps that's why they resolve it so easily, but Hopper and Joyce's tensions bring a spark to their scenes, and Mike and Elle's fumbling attempts to figure out what it means to be boyfriend and girlfriend have been charming. Hopefully, in the rush that's already starting to take over the show, it won't abandon those touches. And I have to agree, like the writers in this season do a really good job of writing the relationships, the romantic relationships between teenagers. Because a lot of times, and young adults, a lot of times when adults write for kids, it's written in a way where the kids talk and act how like a late 20s, 30-something-year-old would behave in a relationship. Or it's like so teen angsty that it's unrealistic. But I think that they did a really, really great job with this. The Nancy and Jonathan characters, it seems very, very believable. And then what's really great about this is Hopper and Joyce's characters. I think the Hopper character is so much more lovable in this. You know, he's not like some big lush that just drinks and smokes all the time. You really, really kind of like connect with him. And then the only criticism I have of the casting as well as the acting so far in this episode, as well as the season, is Winona Ryder. I love Winona Ryder. I mean, I loved her in all the '80s films, and then she kind of wasn't like in anything in the '90s, you know, for a long, long time. And the thing with her is that she's very one note, and you'll notice that she kind of has like this crazy eye look in everything. So if something good is happening, she's like has like a smile, but she's like you know like all crazy eyes. And if something's terrifying, she's like but then all crazy eyes as well. And it's it's like seeing a disturbed person go through ups and downs, you know. And I don't think that's necessarily the character. I think it's kind of just like how Winona Ryder is now, which is kind of sad because she did have a lot of layers. You know, she was just kind of a more normal. She was like a normal outcast. That's kind of how she always was portrayed, like in Beetlejuice and other movies that she was in. But now it's just kind of weird. But she's still good. And anyway, I think her character and also Hopper are still really, really great in this. But in this episode, I would give this a 3 out of 4. This reviewer gave him a 4 out of 5, so whatever. It's basically it's like just docking 1 star. Still really good. I have a feeling this next episode, because there's only 8 episodes in the season, so this is number 5. Number 6, 7, and 8 are really going to be phenomenal because this really sets up a lot. Hope you had fun watching and listening to this. And as always, if you want to get future rants, reviews, original content, click subscribe. Later.